in common with today's theme, which is when to evaluate and how to evaluate and these kind of things. And this comes to the situations where we are calculating very complicated positions. So actually we have another Sam Shankland game here, which was from the Pan American Championship of 2018. And here was quite a characteristic evaluation mistake that people could make. And in this case, Sam did make it, and he almost lost the game. So he's white, and Corey from Peru is black. I recently played in the Banter Blitz Championship against Corey, and I actually did reasonably well. I lost 8.5, 5.5, and I was quite tired and missed many chances. And I had real chances of winning the match. Last I looked, he was still in the tournament, so maybe I could have made it far. Maybe next year, who knows? Or maybe all the power is in the beard. I don't know. So the moment Sam is thinking in what is presumably a winning position, and he's been thinking for a long time. In our live game, in this game here, Corey just played Queen F7. And one of the things that can often happen to us when we evaluate things is we end with variation, which is here, white played bishop e4, and then black played rook h5, and this was his idea. And here it's very easy to fall for the opponent's ideas and sort of be overpowered by what they want to do. So here the idea is, if white plays queen g2, then black will take on e4. If white doesn't take on e4, there was no reason to take on e4. And then he wants to play queen f3. And here we see that the idea is checkmate. And Simon was worried about this, but the idea is nonsense. And this is one of the things when I talk about evaluations, that a very common mistake is sort of believing something. Either you have an idea yourself and you believe it will work, or your opponent has an idea and you believe it will work. And often it's an emotional reaction. Here Sam was better and suddenly like, oh my God, I'm going to get checkmated. He's going to play, I don't know, bishop g7, rook f8, rook h6, rook h6, and I'm mate. Without looking at the fact that even if he ever doubles the rooks on the h line, we have taken on f3 long before. We can play bishop d2. There can never be a rook on h6. Here rook d4 loses to bishop c3. There's so many defensive resources for white here, and his structure is better and the pawn up. So here, this would have been very strong, but this is sort of one of the things I've been saying a lot, that for me, a course in chess psychology would be a course in resisting impulses. So it's not because Sam thought for a while and thought, oh, I'm mate there. No, he had this impulse, oh, I'm going to get mated and so on. I better, take it easy. And this position here is much, much better for black. And we'll not spend a lot of time on this because we want to get on to the good stuff. But in this case here, actually Sam defended very well. He did what he should do, which is exchange a lot of pawns, so black doesn't have weaknesses to attack. And then he created counterplay. And eventually, we have a fortress. So this is a fortress even if white plays, let's say, rook e3 and bishop f3 or something like that. This is a very impenetrable fortress. Black will have to play h4 to do any progress and take it, we take it, and then we give the bishop for g pawn if even relevant, which is not. and it's just draw. So Sam is playing what I thought was the best winning move, the easiest winning move. But let's go to that game. So what I will do is I will copy it in here, and you'll see some of the concerns we see earlier in that game. So Duda is white, Shankland is black. And if I'm using a 15 window, it says on top. If you use 13, it doesn't. But because I'm using a 15 for looking at my notes, I'm using a 13 here. Please tell me you can all see the position. We have an early Najdorf with 6H3. Please confirm. Good. So there's nobody who's looking into my emails or anything this time. That's good. Okay, so this is one of the main way that people are playing at the moment. There was a very interesting game between Neidich with white and Bier with black in the German league last weekend, which followed this line. And there was some very interesting moments in that game, which I haven't found out how to use them as exercises, but from a structure point of view, they're very interesting with how, after black has achieved a huge advantage, should he actually win the position. Will probably feature in a future book. Okay, so knight d2, h5, bishop g5, also g3 is played here. This has been played a number of times. This is all preparation. So there's some interesting moment. Yeah, there's Neidich on the, I think it was the Sunday. Anyway, he was white against Jonas Bier from Denmark, who's a 15-year-old GM. Danish big talent since, I don't know, Kurt Hansen in the 80s or something like that. Or maybe ever. And yeah, it's a very interesting game. When we have forum up and running, which is days away, I think, these kind of things will be available. Yeah, okay, someone is saying they're going to check what David Vigorito is recommending from playing the Najdorf. I'm interested. So the first interesting moment here, and I'm just checking my notes, so I'm not going too far, is King B1, Knight C5, Queen A3, Bishop G7. And up to here, it's all theory. This has been played before, and all the games continued with Knight E3, castles, and then there were various options. For example, H4, B5, and F3, and we could sort of get this in the game as well. And here black's fine as far as I can tell. And this is what Sam has been relying on, I think. Sorry. But Duda played H4 first. Yeah, okay, so I'm asking about the theory. I'm not a great theoretician. I just checked that it's been played a number of times, 4 or 5 times. I remember seeing it before as well. So at this point here comes the first consideration with how should you approach the game as black? White played H4. What is the difference compared to the normal thing? Will you castle or play B5 and hope that you get into transposition, or will you do something else? So I don't know what Sam was thinking, obviously, because he's in Prague and he's still playing, and I haven't talked to him yet. But by the way, he messed up everything now, which is very sad. So we will see what happened later on. There are many interesting moments. So let's move ahead. So Sam, he played Rook B8, which is a non-theoretical move, but the idea is b5, a5, b4. So it will fit in many lines. White played here, black castles. And here I think white should consider playing bishop e2. It's better he played f3 in the game, and then after b5, g4, and try to create active counterplay immediately. And after a5, we have knight b5, knight e4, and we get this kind of very wild position. And I'm going to post the game with my analysis in the Facebook group in the end. And I just beg, please do not share it with anyone. So f3 is played here. And we played f5, which is all normal. So Aratya says that he remember reading MVL annotations where he said it was nice to get in bishop h6 instead of bishop g7. I think in some positions I can really see what he's meaning. We'll see that that's quite relevant in what follows. So here, I think white should play bishop e2, and then after b5, you'll have to play b4, and then we have f, e4, f4, a5, and black's doing well. This is sort of comparable to what happens in the game, where it becomes very wild. White played knight e3, black plays b5. Now, if knight returns, rook f7, black is definitely make progress. And if the other knight goes to d5, then a5 and b4 is coming very strong. So white's idea was b4. Now how, let's do this. Now here, without looking at the game or the indents or anything like that, think for yourself for a few minutes. What do you think is relevant in this position? How should we approach this position? What are the options? Well, I understand that you would probably 20 minutes during a game to choose your move, which would be wise. But what are the options here? So rather than just coming with options, try to think about what's important in the position. Why are certain moves relevant? So there's a suggestion that's been a number of times, which is f4 for black, to close the queen side to prevent g4. And this is the kind of thing where you're sort of a little confused about what's going on, I think. Because is white actually threatening to play g4 and open up the king side? This kind of action will definitely arrive a day late. So bishop h6 is So there's a comment here from one of the Roberts, which is statically speaking, black's position is worse. He's forced to retreat. It is knight. White will be better. Okay, so black's not forced to retreat with the knight. BC5, B4. So we're not going to do that. And for the same reason, we're not going to play knight A4, because after knight A4, take A4, king A1, then our whole fight then the fight for the B4 square, which is really what's happening. So first of all, we're playing for the dark squares. So here, look at this here. I'm just gonna point this out. The queen is alone in defending the dark squares in the white position. So this is like we're doing a three questions analysis, which we should do. So here we point out that that the dark squares all around the white position are without any foundation. We see the white pawns; they are actually awful for that. Secondly, okay, worst place piece: bishop on f1, rook on f1. There's no way for them to get in. G4 is not going to happen. But what's black's worst place piece? It's the rook on f8. So in this position here, I think it's possible to calculate, and just be entirely confused. I think it's the wrong time to calculate. I wouldn't calculate here. I would try to, check some lines to make sure that I'm not worse. And there's some consideration. So Arantxa is saying A5, queen A5, B8, B4, knight CD5. I'm just going to put it on the board without anything here. The suggested knight A4 here as well. But the whole point, you can play knight A4 here as well. But this kind of position, black's doing well. But from my perspective, I don't think we got the most out of our position, let's say here. Sort of white managed to consolidate. I don't think this is going in the right direction. And this is a lot about what I'm saying about how long should we calculate and so on, and evaluations. How do we use evaluations? When do we calculate? Then in this position here, I would think that any evaluation will have to do with how do I get my pieces to perform the most, and what is my opponent trying to do. So Sam tried something very direct, which is bishop h6. And it is not so bad. Black's still better, but I still think it's a mistake. After ef5, gf5, knight ed5, I think things are going in the wrong direction. Black's still better. We play e4, bishop g7, stuff like that. And here I wouldn't go further, with the evaluation. I would say, okay, here I'm sacrificing a piece. The knight, he can take it. I'm playing b4 and a5 and all this stuff, and I have a lot of counterplay. But do I actually want to force him to do that? So there's a suggestion from Tarun, which I like very much, which is f takes e4, f takes e4, and rook f4. I think simple moves here. We're not really threatening to take an h4, but we are threatening knight e4. If g3, we have rook f3. Here, all the pieces are playing. The bishop on g7 still has the potential in the long diagonal. And if white takes with the knight, also rook f4, bishop d3, a5, this kind of thing here, we have a big advantage. I have not checked everything, of course, but I think queen a5, we might play something like queen e8 or queen c7. No, not queen c7, queen d7 or queen e7. and just play slowly and win the attack. Or we can take on an a5 and play rook a8 and be better. So this is what I looked at, but there are moments later that I think are a little more interesting. So I wanted to just stop here, and I want to try to make this a 1 hour lesson just for once. And look, and okay, bishop h6 was played, and he went back to d5. And here, which I think is a mistake, and here we took an e4. And taken c5. And black played b4. And this is sort of a forced sequence. So we should stop here actually and see. So fe4. If white continues with the fe4 as well, I think black can play a5 and have a very, very good position. He will either play, you know, queen a5, queen takes, pawn takes, b4, and then he'll play knight e4, and everything will be hanging. I'm just going to put this on the board here. So here, take here, and then we have knight e4, and we have all these weak squares. Even here in some lines, probably. So this is not going to work for white. So for that reason, I'm going to move this box over here so it doesn't disturb you. White played bc5. So this is the critical move. It's the only reason not to play fe4 here. So when we're calculating a line, it's very important with evaluation that we're like, okay, if I take here, if he takes with the pawn, I have this move at least. Also, I think after something like knight d7, black's doing really, really well. We have rook f2 coming, we have knight f6 coming to g4. We actually have a very good positional position. I'm not sure. The only question is whether or not white can take on a6. But so for that reason, I probably think just a5 and I'm well. So the real thing is the critical line comes after bc5, b4. And our calculation is knight b4, a5, and we have calculated this in advance. And then comes rook d6. So now I've shown you, just so everyone understands what the variation is. Now we try to look at this position for 5 minutes. How you think after rook d6, how you want to continue with black. Okay, so after rook d6, I think everyone has sort of realized that a takes b4 is the move. And here, this is where calculation becomes a little difficult when we're a bit far away, because white is not forced to take. On b8, where it's take on d8, take on a3, take on b8, take on b8. And I think it's just lost. If king a1, we have so many options. If knight b5, we have bishop d7. So now we're forced to play after a b4. White has queen a6. But this move is also very annoying. Suddenly the b line is closed. Well, queen is threatened. So a b4, queen a6. Let me show you. Yeah. So, and then we'll go back. There. And it is true, it is very complicated. So how do you evaluate a position like this? This is the lesson, the question of the day. How do you evaluate? When do you evaluate? How do you distribute your time? And I think, my opinion here is that you sort of have to see, okay, what do you believe about the position? I believe black is doing very well. I'd be very surprised if white was better. So I believe my position as well. I also believe, as the not so true Robert, according to what I've been told, but still my friend Robert, mentioned that black, should do something, should be active. Black has more development, statically, his structure has problems. The only thing he has is really the attack. And I found a new way of describing how we should attack. We should be like the Incredible Hulk. Hulk, smash! So, in such complications, it's generally good to have this lack of respect for anything. But to go into this variation with black, which he probably planned already when he played bishop h6, is a very, very big ask, because he would have seen, I know Sam, he would have seen this position and he would have decided what to do. So the first move is not very difficult. We check. But then, and this has to be seen in advance, because otherwise, like someone said, queen rook e6. And the c-pawn, and I'm talking about the one in c5, looks very strong. And white is playing bishop c4, bishop b3. And probably the endgame is very bad for black. There's also hanging on g6 in many lines. And similar again with if queen c7, rook e6, queen c5, rook g6, bishop e4 check, bishop b3. Not going to be in trouble there. So here we have to find an entirely different approach. So bishop c1 is suggested. Problem is, I take your queen. I always have bishop b5. I'll take this one. I'm threatening queen takes e6 check. So even the best you could ever hope for is an endgame, which is probably bad if you win back the queen somehow. So I don't think you do. There's no draw here. Yeah, it's queen e6 coming and bishop c4. So no. So the thing is, black is currently a piece up. One consideration should be something like bishop f7. But after rook takes, here white has a good move. This is the kind of thing a grandmaster sees in seconds. And this is like the immediate feeling of, okay, these are the weak point on a2 that's made here, worst place piece, and bishop c4. And here things have gone entirely wrong for black, so that's not working. So Jeet is coming with the correct conclusion, which is take here. Now the thing is with rook c8, queen c8, Jeremy is suggesting that here we're exchanging queens in a moment. So rook a8 suggested, but your queen's hanging and you lost. So here and queen c8, I take here. Now we exchange queens in a moment. You're not bishop c1 b2, it doesn't mean anything. Bishop c4 b3. So it's not happening. Now Sam, he played the right move. He took on d6. Now if pawn takes, then the sixth rank is closed and rook a8. And after queen takes, he played bishop f7. King f7 was also mentioned here, and I don't think getting the king out to be checked is a good idea, and don't think anyone considered it. So here, if you were following this game on Chess24 as I was, I'm in the habit of trying to watch the games without the engine on. When I have time to think, I turn off the engine, I look myself, I see what I think, then I turn it on. And it's not terribly strong, but at least it can tell me something about the general evaluation of stuff here. Here it's right to play, I should say. And the engine there said that queen c6 only move was equal. And here, this would be a position which we could assume could happen in a game. And black would have to think again, because queen c6 is not a move you see ahead. And actually, Duda didn't even see the move. And then, well, maybe saw the move. The idea, just to explain the idea for you, is white wants to play queen a4 and bishop a6, and then c6. So they're in the situation of if black plays, of course, black was threatening rook d8, rook d1. But if black plays rook a8, we have bishop a6. And also there's another line I can give here, which is very well explained what's threatened. If here, now the bishop comes to h3, but here, rook g1, king h8, and here white has a very nice winning move, which is bishop c4. So this was not forced by any chance or anything, but here we see the white pieces getting into the game. We see this idea with queen e4, bishop c4 also being integral to the idea. So we could imagine this happen to us during a game. How would we approach this? And when would we calculate, and when would we make an evaluation? I think from ahead to see this position and think that, okay, here I do not see a refutation of the attack. I don't see where the white bishop can come into the game easily. My next move might be rook b2, and rook takes a2. I think this is worth the chance. That's how I would go for it. It's what I think Sam did. But if queen c6, definitely would come into something new. Maybe he'd seen it later, but he wouldn't have seen it back when he made the decision to go for this. I will, by the way, just check his time consumption earlier on, so we can find out when he made the big decision to jump. It's not clear because he took an e4 after less than 4 minutes. I think he just believed in the position. His real thinking comes in the game around this period, where he goes from what he believes in to now it's time to calculate everything till the end. So here, let's find some candidates for black. So one idea is rook a8, but here we see another white idea, a4. So that's not so good. Another idea is rook b2. And here we see the other. And white is happy to escape with a draw here. So again, and I know I'm talking calculation, but there was this metaphor in a book called Seven Habits of Highly Successful People by Stephen Covey, where he said, you know, before you climb up a ladder, make sure it's against the right wall. So your calculation should start with, what are you trying to achieve here? More than, oh, I can do this move, this move, this move. That's not sensible calculation. Like, what are you trying to achieve? What's your foundation of the position? So Arata has a drawing line. Yeah, white draws, black draws. Here with black, all my pieces are playing almost. I would be very optimistic. I would say mate. I would say weakness. I would say weakness. I would say, what's my opponent's idea? Well, we've seen some of them. We've seen this one. We've seen this one. We've seen this one. We've seen this one. It's all defensive ideas. So actually, I would think, well, he's trying to parry my threats. So therefore, I don't have to think prophylactically against him. I think a move like rook b4, as suggested, just has this feeling of being slow. And yeah, I'm not surprised to see that white can play something like queen a6, and if rook fb8, he has bishop e2, and black is out of threats. We don't have, I just want to show that on the board. Yeah, so here, no, sorry, rook b4, queen a6, and here, and already it was too slow. If you play rook b2 now, I play bishop c4. And that rook b4, the computer says it's still equal. But okay, at least there's some thinking in the right direction here, because the third thing always to remember is how to make use of our pieces. So the one and true Robert asks rook fd8, bishop b5, rook d2. Is that also too slow? No, I don't think that looks slow. You take your worst placed piece and you create threats. Every move, not like rook b4, which has this prophylactic thing, maneuvering. We're slowly maneuvering our pieces into it. Rook fd8, white's play is dominated. Rajesh says e3 looks counterintuitive. Yeah, it does to me as well. Bishop d3, white definitely achieves something there. Or bishop e4 with the idea bishop c4. The e pawn is not such a great asset. But rook fd8 should be like very primary country. Rook fc8 also. These kind of candidates where you bring the pieces in. Rook fc8 then has this queen e4 that you want to do. But rook fc8. Jit wants to play bishop c1, bishop b2, bishop a2, but it's not made. King goes to c4. And b5 and e6. I don't know how far it can run away. But rook fd8, let's look at this. Like, this is where we should be thinking. Rook fd8, bishop b5, and rook d2. What is the threat here? Have you seen what black is threatening? He's threatening rook c2, but he's also threatening something much more important. So rook c2 and rook a2, not e3, no. So white should play queen a6 here, because rook c2, I have bishop c4, and it's counterplay. So I have some counterplay, and then the c pawn can create counterplay, and even if black takes twice on a2 and plays c2 and c1, then white has c6 and c7. And here Jeremy correctly pointed out we have rook d8. Mate coming. Bishop e2 is suggested. Interesting. And the idea is if rook c2, then bishop c4. This is probably the most stubborn defense. Here there's a very good move which could take a very long time to find. So bishop d5 with the idea rook a8. Now, if I just put this on the board, can you see an immediate problem with it? Bishop c4 comes and queen g6, so we have this problem in many positions. Here we are in actually the situation the black pieces are really well placed. So if we look at weaknesses here and here, we just saw this. Rook e2 and rook d2, then queen e4, and you probably just lost. So here, actually, it's a little bit simple. As one and true Robert says, maybe just king g7. Defend the weakness. White is not doing anything. This is like when we have this three-point analysis. What is nothing? The only thing is we don't want to take on c2 because of bishop c4. And there's counterplay against our pieces and so on. After king g7, I think we want to take c2. Or we have other slow ways to improve our position. I don't know. Maybe here white should try c6. And now we take. C7 doesn't work, I think. We have rook c8 with very nice image. And suggested also here. But here I don't so. So here, 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 here. This doesn't look right. No, so just rook c8, but still I'm not sure about anything here. But take here if bishop c4, then we have this nice move. But okay, I just check with the engine. Yeah, it says I'm right. If c7, then rook c8. It's a hell of a line, yeah. So okay, I just want to show you another line here, because all this thing here, and this is sort of my point with, you know, we were talking about last time we talked calculation, which is beyond 3 moves, it's very rare that we see something. But here, the issue really was that we didn't get to the point of calculation. And here there's a lot of, okay, this looks right, I activate my pieces, create threats, he puts his pieces in stupid places, squares, and so on. So now after something like rook b1, here we can try to find a forced win. And friends, it is there, and it is there for you to find. And I will give you 5 minutes, and for me to be able to do that, I'm going to mute myself and leave the room for back. I'm giving you a little time. last minute. Drinking all this water has clearly consequences. Okay, so time up. A lot of you doubt that there is this glorious line, and it is not quite true that cannot prevent mate. He can play something like he can put the queen in the B line, and then we have a totally pointless endgame that black will win very easily. Here the next move is probably G5, just to speed things up. So this line I thought was really fantastic, very instructive, but also about how we make decisions. That it has to have a starting point with how you evaluate the position. White played bishop e2 in the game, and here basically black has two options. So we have rook b2 or rook a8 that I think are the sort of the main human options. All other moves don't make sense to me. Of course, we're going to attack on a2, and here it's a simple decision making. This is a comparison method we can use here. That after rook b2, we're taking on a2. After rook a8, white has this move. We have some position like this, and what is this? And do we want to spend time on that? We will have enough problems later on. Turns out that after rook a7, black is still winning. From a competitive perspective, no one cares. So here, Sam played rook b2, and white played queen a6. Actually, Sam spent 25 minutes here, and he didn't find the win. So rook b2, queen a6. And here, he took an a2. Sorry, I took an a2 very quickly. And the game was a draw. So as you saw, I gave away the solution, which is the black play rook takes c2. This was our alternative. And here the key thing is, if rook e1, then take. We see the difference quite evidently. And if c6, we have bishop e3 with this idea. I just like this position, I have to say. And the thing that I presume Sam was afraid of was bishop c4. So here, since I didn't give this up already, we can spend our last 2-3 minutes thinking about how to continue here. I should say when he played rook b2, rook fd8 was also a strong winning move because of various lines, but it's not a human move at all. But here, seeing this in advance, how would we think? Now at this point, it's a critical moment. We sort of look at what the opponent's trying to do, what we're trying to do, and then we try to think of moves. But beyond that, So king g7 is considered. I think black has an advantage here, but after take queen c4. So here I think it's important just to look for options. But yeah, king g7, take, queen c4, e3 is also good. But people are slowly finding the move that looks strongest. So Shahil, Fake Robert, Aracha all found the best move here. Look for options. Don't spend your time looking on very long variations with your first ideas. Instead, try to have a lot of ideas and then have small lines that you are in charge of. The one and true Robert also finds the move. Of course, he was just slower because he had to write a really beautiful explanation to me. So the next two. So I think what happened is my connection was very good. So I have to go sharing there. So I just lost connection just for a little moment. We just moved to a new house. The internet is worse in this area and it is in the other end of the house. We are going to get an engineer out here, plug us into the wall. No, Alberto, your suggestion of EF3, very bad site. Sorry to mention you by name there. I generally try to not mention anyone by name when there's blunders. You should not apologize to me. I should apologize. Jeremy, yes, you found the move and probably this very helped you. And this is something, you know, if we were in person, then nobody would normally feel, I hope, feel unhappy when I say a move isn't good. And Jeet has the right move, so we all have the right move. But when we're in a group and we're talking about a position, we are simulating the thought process. Taron is also right. Ash is not right. Against queen takes g6 is not the way you want to go. When we are in a group, we are trying to learn to think or to think together. And in this case, yeah, Ash found the right move after thinking. The various variations with this, while we are similarly seeing we want to do this, could lead us in the right direction. Rook takes g2. Now, actually, Sam is sending me Facebook messages at the moment, and I will ask him later why he didn't play rook takes e2, but it's not for common consumption. Actually, he just told me. So he said after rook c2, bishop c4, rook g2, c6, c2, bishop takes, rook takes, queen c4, he missed the move. I think here black has many ways to win the game, but this was what he didn't find. This position here. So one wrong suggestion is bishop e3. I think after c7, you're going to regret it. Aratu has the right move. But remember, you have to see it quite far in advance to be able to play this. But I think here it was worth risk anyway. So this is black to play and win in one move. Robert, fake Robert has it as well. Fake Robert was my real friend. Tarun has the right move. So what is better, being the one true Robert or being my true friend? Alberto has the right move. The one true Robert is happy being the one true Robert. In other way, he is totally rejecting the idea of being my friend. Very wise, sir, very wise. So one more here, last one to put in the winning move. Last chance. One true Robert does not come with the move, but Dirk does come with the move. I have $1 million. Apparently, Kusha also right. Apparently, watching horror movies with me is, Ash, that's not the best move. It's a good move, but not the best. Watching horror movies with me is amazing because if you think my laugh is good, you should see my screen. Now here, the only move is rook d2 and rook d1. Only winning move. So here, white is coming with c7, so we need to do something urgently. But after rook d2, it's over. Rook c1 is coming, and we're winning on points. So you could imagine, I don't know, something like, is this the best move? Do I have c1 queen here? Let's not miss. Easy wins. Yeah. This is handy thinking instead of using your eyes. Actually, often you have to see things before you can think. We talked about this already, but it is really, really just looking at things and letting your knowledge acknowledge them. It's very useful. Okay, so this was not my planned lesson. I think it was an interesting lesson on the same. If anybody are really, really unhappy, they can write to Kalia for refund. No spoilers, she will tell you to get lost. But at least should just show you what happened in the game, which is Sam took here and draw. And here, yeah, here they agreed to draw. So this was very tragic, and I think certainly at this point here, where Sam took after 25 seconds, he could probably have tried again. He had some minutes left, but he probably thought that there was no chance. But even with the take on c2, take on g2, I think he was not running a substantial risk, and he should have tried it and see what would come up later on. And this is like something with evaluation, and you know, I'm using both the Stockfish and Leela engine and so on, and they have a different evaluation of things, because Stockfish looks from here and ahead and then makes evaluations, while Leela or Fatfridge or all these engines of the new thing, AlphaZero, what they do is they have an idea of kind of position will give me this good chance, this kind of position will give me this kind of chance, and based on that, they're sort of looking backwards and seeing how can I get to a position and give me most possible chances. From valuation point of view, okay, here there are lots of lines to see, like this line is very, very nice. But let's say Sam, he acknowledged to have this problem. Here, and Queen C4. Sorry, is that right? C6. Here, and this line here. I think here he should have thought that, okay, he's not running a substantial risk going for it. But this is, I think Black has many decent ways of playing even if he doesn't have Rook D2. So let's say King G7 was suggested. And the only thing to be afraid of would be C7. And then even Rook F8, C8 takes, EF3. Let me just put this on the board. Even this here, the game is actually not over. It's quite a bizarre position. My engines are calling it equal. Really out there. So I think that his decision to go for forced draw there was false. So being asked here, Queen B7, let's say King H8, and Queen F3. It looks good for White, doesn't it? I actually think, and this is not engine supported at all. I think Black looks absolutely winning here. My next move would be E4. What would your move be? But not Bishop G7, because then Queen E4. Or check and Queen E4, or King B2 or something like that. Not Queen E4. Here, I would always open. Yeah, no, here, if you check, go here, I check out of the way, and here, and now I win. Yeah, well, King G7, it's just to show that Black could play lots of things. There's no reason to believe that Black should force a draw, so that we can get closer to the point. We have to see the difficult moves, because seeing them from far away just very rarely works. And we'll talk more about that when we get to the lesson number 7 in this. But for now, I'm going to sign off. I think this was fun. It was interesting for me, at least. I hope it was interesting for you. And it was chess, and it was a crazy game. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.